Hello and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name's Thomas, joined by Terry today for what feels like, the millionth time this week. It has been a flurry of activity in the last 4 days. We've reached the end of those three signs, and now Abdoulaye Doucoure is officially an Everton player. This one's probably dragged on the most. We saw him in the Titanic with Alan and Ancelotti and Brands and Hammers, the other day. He started liking Everton's tweets, took Watford out of his bio, changed his location to Liverpool. It's been going on for days, this one, but it's finally over the line. It seems like it's around a 20 million deal like the others. It's a 3-year contract with an optional extension for another year, I think, so it could end up being a fourth. We'll get to that a bit later because that is kind of similar structure to James Rodriguez's contract as well. But Terry, just straight away, kind of initial thoughts on the signing?
It's a good move, isn't it? It feels like it's been a long time in coming because, when we approached Marco Silva when he was at Watford, I remember hearing at the time that, when he sort of, down tools, went off the boil, however you want to frame it, at Watford, he also, one of the big things that was held against him was that he was discussing players at Watford following him to Everton when he arrived. And there was two of those players that we were led to believe he'd spoken to were Doucoure and Richarlison, and they're now both here. So we've obviously had a long-standing interest in him. And he's even said himself, if we want to come here for a couple of years, and he's through the door now. And even though it feels like it's the most underwhelming of the three signings we've made, in the last week, but I think it could be one of the most effective just because it's going to go under the radar. He's going to have a massive impact on how we play, and I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, it definitely does seem like one that has just kind of slipped everyone's minds, really, which is understandable. Signing James is a pretty big deal. Obviously, a lot of Colombians coming on the channel last night. I don't know if they'll still be here for Abdoulaye Doucoure, but we'll have to see when that goes up. Obviously, Alan was an exciting one. It was the first one, and now Doucoure, very solid player, and 20 million doesn't seem like a lot for him. I think, didn't we get a bid turned down last year for 35 or something? So it seems like those kind of the bid's been slashed massively, and he seems really happy to be here as well. As I mentioned on his Twitter, all of a sudden everything changed, profile picture, the lot. He's clearly been waiting for this one to be announced. So that's good to see. We're signing players that definitely want to play for the club, and they're all speaking about Ancelotti, talking about how they're all coming here. They're all calling Mr. Ancelotti, Professor Ancelotti, which is what Alan called him. So again, very positive business. We've spoken a lot about transfers, as I mentioned. I'm very pleased to see it. I think he'll probably be the first one to kind of hit the ground running. Really, he knows the league. It's not like he has to take time. Alan will probably be fine as well, but obviously it is his first steps in the Premier League. We'll have to see how James develops. Obviously, he scored an overhead kick or whatever in training today, so that obviously went mental. I'm not sure if Doucoure is going to be ready for Sunday. He seems to think he would be, and if he is, I'd like to just see him kind of go straight in, to be honest, because I don't really want to see us start the season with a midfield of Sigurdsson and Davies massively. I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that, though. But are you looking to see him start on Sunday against Spurs?
Yeah, I think he's got the most chance to start because he's the one who might not need the acclimatisation periods of the new league. James and Alan, obviously new additions to the Premier League and the style. I think we will probably see them feature. They'll probably go straight on the bench or whatever. Or they could start. Who knows? But I think if you were to put your money on one player starting, it'll probably be Doucoure. Who he's alongside, I don't know. But Andre Gomez has been sent home from the international break because he wasn't fit enough to play a game, which doesn't international games are not as intense as Premier League games, are they? So let's remember as well when we played Spurs, last season, we were physically bullied in the middle of the pitch, and especially now that they've got Jose Mourinho, that's going to be something they're going to specialise in. So you don't want to be going into that game with Sigurdsson and Davies as your two starting players. So I think Doucoure will go in there. Who he's alongside is the question, personally.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll be the first one in. I wouldn't be surprised to see Alan, to be honest. I think it would make a lot of sense to put him straight in. He seems to be fit. He was in the Napoli training squad just before he came, but obviously it is a different league. But I really do not want to be turning up with Sigurdsson and Davies in the midfield, as I mentioned. And something we should definitely talk about as well. Our central midfield has completely transformed over the last 4 days. It's been quite, we ended the season, centre midfield was clearly the worst spot. Ancelotti's taken one look at it. He's brought in Doucoure and Allen to play there. Definitely, we think Hammers might play there. He might play off the right. But massively different centre midfield and so many different qualities to what we had before. I mean, we didn't have a player like Allen or Hammers at the club. Not Hammers, sorry. Allen or Doucoure at the club, whatsoever before. We didn't have a player close to them. And it seems like they're going to work really well together. I spoke to David Hughes. If you haven't seen that video, definitely check it out. He can speak a lot more about, the benefits of playing those two kind of in the centre midfield in the 4-4-2. But as I mentioned just before, the contract is something I want to speak about because and I know you're impressed, so I'll let you speak about it now. As I mentioned, 3-year contract. Club has an optional year, optional extension. What are your thoughts on that kind of system?
I mean, it's very clever. I've always liked deals like that. Man United do a lot of them. That's not to say Man United's transfer dealings are always perfect, but they're something they're big on is signing players to a certain amount of years with an option of a further year. And the fact that we've done that now with two new signings, who, let's be honest, are going to be on decent money and, older in age and whatever. We're not locking ourselves down to very long, protracted contracts that we can't shift if the player doesn't work out. So if, for example, if Doucoure, he's here for 3 years, now he's pretty safe that he's going to be all right because he's come from another Premier League team, former Premier League team. He's coming from a team that knows the league, so he's not likely to not adapt. But with James, who's the other player with the extension, you just never know. You don't want to be giving him a 4-year deal, 5-year deal, and then it doesn't work out. Like look at the situation we're in now. With if we'd have gone into this summer and we had an option to extend Gylfi Sigurdsson's contract or Theo Walcott's or Sandro Ramirez's, I think probably all three of them wouldn't have had it extended, and we'd be a lot better off financially. So I think the club has finally learnt its lesson from the poor dealings of the past, not to tie themselves down, wrap themselves up in long, heavy contracts that aren't guaranteed to work out. If they do work out, as we all hope, fair enough. Extend the deal, make a new deal, whatever. But we're a little bit more secure on these contracts than we would have been if, say, Steve Walsh was organising it and giving them probably double the wages and twice as long.
Yeah, it kind of like protects the club in two ways, really, because it protects them because if, for example, Doucoure doesn't work out in 3 years, you're not labelled with him for another year. But also, if he does work out, another club, comes looking for him. He can't leave on a free. You just extend the contract, and then you get a transfer fee for him. So it makes a lot of sense. I'm definitely glad to see that the club are definitely thinking kind of a lot more strategically than they have in the past. Handed long-term contracts to Luke Garbett, Matthew Pennington. Sigurdsson was on quite a long contract as well, which is he out of contract next season now? Or yeah. So yeah. We've probably got a whole year of him left. I mean, there's rumours to DC United, but they seem to not really go anywhere. But it makes a lot of sense. I'm very happy to get this one over the line, as I said. Very happy in terms of value for money coming from, as you mentioned, a former Premier League team. That he's not going to need time to adapt. And as I mentioned, he's really happy to come. So that's all for me, really. Have you got anything to kind of add before we round this video off?
Yeah, I just want to make a correction. He's not on a contract next summer. He's on a contract the year after. I just had to check.
That's disastrous.
So he runs out of contract in 2022.
How long was his contract in the first place? That seems like it's
5-year deal. 2017 to 2022, so 5-year contract. I knew when I said that was wrong, so that was all I want to add. I want to correct. The Walcott is out of contract next year, and so is Sandro Ramirez and a couple of other players, Balassi, Bezic, what have you. But you can obviously hope that we can get rid of them sooner than that. But yeah, Abdoulaye Doucoure, I think he's a no-brainer signing, isn't he? I mean, the second that Watford were relegated, there was Watford fans on Twitter going, well, let's see how much money we can get out of Everton for Doucoure. It was just so A to B. Everyone knows, Everton are going to come back in for Doucoure. It wasn't even a question of whether he'll stay, and it wasn't even a question of where will he go. Everyone, Everton fans, Watford fans, the player himself probably knew, that move's going to happen now. It's nearly happened before twice, and it's probably definitely going to happen now. And it has. So he's going to hopefully provide us something that we're sorely lacking in the middle of the pitch and has been holding us back as a team for the past however long. But yeah, good signing, really happy with it, and good contract.
Yeah, and apparently there were other clubs interested, which is what he mentioned. I think Monaco were in for him for a while. There was rumoured that Wolves maybe had some interest, but he, as his interview said, he told his agent he wanted to come to Everton. He clearly wanted to come last year. Moved in, come off. He didn't have the best season for Watford. That might be part of it. That he knew he was maybe part of a side that was going down. Wanted to leave, and I absolutely don't blame him. I'm very glad that we finally got this one over the line. So that's pretty much all for this transfer reaction. A crazy 4 days really as an Everton fan. Not one that I think I expected maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't even think we'd be at this point by now, but I'm glad we've got all three over the line before the start of the season. Whether they'll all start is another question, but the roll in, while it is technically still pre-season, that we haven't played our first game yet, they're not coming in, like after a couple of games, get them straight in, get them bedded in. I mean, Doucoure as well in his interview spoke about how he was really glad that he got to have that meal, in the Titanic, because he's already got to know, James, Alan. He's got to know everyone before he's even been part of the squad. And then I presume he's just going to be like, training's going to be a weird one though, because he's going to come into the squad, but obviously half of the squad are kind of out on international duty for a few more days. So it might be weird to come back to, but very happy. That's pretty much it for the end of the video though. So definitely check out Terry's social media, check out all the Toffee Blues social media as well. In the video I referenced that I did with David Hughes, of course, some of the older viewers will recognize that name from the Toffee Blues way back, maybe a couple of years ago now. So we got him back on the channel, spoke about where we're going to kind of maybe fit Doucoure, Allen, and James Rodriguez in. So definitely check that out after this. Thank you very much for watching. As always, in the comments, let us know what you think about this deal. How happy are you that we've got this over the line in terms of value for money? Are you happy about that? And let us know your thoughts about the contract as well. So thank you very much for watching, and join us next time on the Toffee Blues.